Hi everyone, it's Sarah. Hope you've had a good week. Mine's been full on. I've just finished some coaching, so I thought I'd just do a really quick video this evening all about something that I've written about on my blog post recently and in my newsletter. I do a weekly e-blast, which is like a 2-minute read, and it's got top tips and things like that. Basically, I'm talking about how to set boundaries with people. Now, I don't know whether you've ever had those times where you've just felt really uncomfortable about doing something, whether that's in your private life or your professional life. And usually when we get that uncomfortable feeling or a feeling of resentment, that means that our boundaries have been crossed. So we've all got, like, literally we have physical boundaries. So you know when somebody invades your physical space or gets a bit too close and you don't know them very well, that can feel quite uncomfortable. But also, for example, if we're at work and somebody's asking us to do stuff that isn't really part of our job and isn't really part of our role at all, or is not something that we want to do, you kind of get that feeling of resentment and actually, you know, why should I be doing this? Why are you asking me this? And sometimes we take those things on board and we don't set boundaries with people. And setting boundaries with people means declining to do things, but in a polite and respectful way. It doesn't mean being aggressive, but it means being assertive, and it means having enough self-esteem and self-respect for yourself to be able to understand where your responsibility stops and where you stop and where somebody else starts. Be that in a team, be that in a relationship, be that with a family member. It's just one of those core skills that when I'm coaching people, whether it be about career or anything else, and people come to me feeling very overwhelmed, they are run ragged, they're feeling a bit of resentment towards somebody, 9 times out of 10, it can be because they're taking on too much and not learning to say no in the right way. And I mean, no is not a swear word. No is not a dirty word. It's actually a sign of self-respect and self-esteem. And the problem is that the more that we give to people and try and help and save people sometimes, are any of us guilty of doing that? Be it like Superman or Wonder Woman, however you like to describe yourself, are we all a bit guilty of trying to help people when it's to our own detriment? The problem is when we do that, then people expect us to do it all the time. And it's not always that the other person is being disrespectful or selfish. It's just that maybe you haven't expressed to them, well, actually, do you know what, on this occasion I can't help you. Have you tried this and have you tried that? Because sometimes by continuing to rescue and help people, we're not actually helping them. We're not enabling people to be self-sufficient and find solutions to their own problems. We're often enabling their own helpless behaviour. And actually, 9 times out of 10 in life, that's not going to get you very far. We all have to be responsible for ourselves. So as I say, when I'm coaching people and people are feeling overwhelmed privately, professionally, or both, it is often because they haven't said, do you know what? I haven't set a boundary about when I can deliver this piece of work. I haven't had the confidence or self-respect to say, well, actually, if I do this piece of work, what do you want me to do with this other piece with the same deadline? And these are just normal adult conversations. It doesn't mean being spiky. It doesn't mean being aggressive. It's just about being polite and being direct with people. And again, the clear sign that your boundary has been crossed is that you feel resentful, you feel uncomfortable, and this just detracts from our own health and happiness. And actually, I've seen people getting very stressed because, you know, sometimes I've had people on the phone saying, I'm working all of these hours, I'm looking after this person, I'm looking after that person, and actually, we all get something from helping people. Many of us love to help people, and that's great. But you can't help anyone if you're going to become a victim of stress and exhaustion yourself. I've done a lot of scuba diving in the past, and actually there's a really good analogy, and I'm sure some of you that have been into extreme sports, and I was certainly into the extreme deep side of diving, of scuba diving, was that never become the victim yourself. And I think it applies here. By all means help people, but by all means put yourself first and put your self-care first. I know with children that might be different, so I'm not necessarily including that, but at work, I see people saying, I'm so stressed, I can't cope with my job, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just running about all the time feeling overwhelmed. And actually with a few tweaks about, asking the right questions, asking for clarity about when stuff needs to be done, or actually stepping forward and saying, do you know what? This person's giving me their work to do and I'm not really sure and I don't think it fits in my responsibilities. Or having a direct but polite conversation with that person by themselves. Now, don't take this personally, it's not that you're a soft touch or you can't manage your time. It's just sometimes we don't realise that someone's asking us to do too much or that we are responsible for having given too much. It's just if you start to feel that resentment building up, it's a sign that actually, do you know what, enough is enough. I need to be able to look after myself first and, not look after in a selfish way, but I need to care for myself first. And as I say, setting boundaries politely, directly, speaking to the individual, is absolutely about self-esteem, self-respect and self-care. I mean, it happens in relationships a lot, as in romantic relationships, personal relationships develop over time. Sometimes it's easy to take the other person for granted. Sometimes it's easy to want to help out a lot and be the best partner that you can. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as relationships evolve, again, romantic, maybe business relationships, there's always a good time. You'll feel it when it's the right time to sit down and what I call recalibrate that relationship. And this is just about effective communication, saying, hey, look, I'm noticing this. Look, I'm happy to help do this, but actually on this occasion I can't because of X, Y, and Z, because there's no point in you helping everyone else if you're going to, as I say, end up exhausted, etc. So here's a tip about how you can, I've talked about effective communications, I've talked about the fact that setting boundaries is important at work, with family, with friends, with romantic relationships, that it's about open and honest communication, it's about self-esteem, it's about self-care, about self-respect and confidence and being able to communicate in a clear, polite but direct way. Now, what you can do, here's an exercise for you, again, as always, involving a piece of paper and a pen, because it's always good to write things down and look at them objectively in front of us in note format rather than trying to figure it out in our own head. As I've mentioned before, writing things down really accesses another part of our brain, which allows us to see things objectively and allows us to access that creative and processing part of our brain that sometimes gets buried in the day-to-day side of just getting on with tasks. So let's ask your brain a question. Let's ask yourself, if you look back through maybe your life, recent years, recurring situations that have made you, or situations you've created that have led you to feel resentful, exhausted, when you feel like it's one-way traffic, have a look at those situations and see if there are some patterns there about who is this with, what are you taking on, what responsibilities are they not taking on, and how does it impact you? And also, what are the signs for you that your boundary has been crossed? Now, do you keep it to yourself and sort of silently sit there and stew? Or, I don't know, do you blow your top and explode and the other person's left there thinking, well, what on earth was all that about? She offered to do it, or he offered to do it, and now they've gone absolutely wappo, as I say. So that's a technical word, by the way. So have a look. Are there scenarios that you notice? What situations? Are you always staying late at work? And you look around the office, and I've certainly been there myself, look around the office and it's like, I'm the only one here. Right. It's not everybody else, it's me. Are you always staying late at work? Is there a particular friend or family member that you are always running away from, running around for? Is the relationship that you're thinking about when you're making these notes, is it a two-way street, or does it feel a bit like it's all take and no give? So as I mentioned, this is something that comes up a lot in coaching. Setting boundaries is about self-respect, self-care, self-esteem. No is not a swear word or a dirty word. As so often in life, this is about effective communication. When we know when our boundaries have been transgressed because we may feel resentful, a bit rebellious about doing something, and I firmly believe if you don't want to do something with good grace, then we shouldn't do it, to be honest. And then, have a look at, where do these situations occur? Do they occur with the same people all the time? Is that relationship a two-way street? Are there particular scenarios you notice, like staying late at work, always being the one to unload the dishwasher? I just pulled that one out of my head. I don't know where that came from. Anyway, is there somebody that you're always running around after, but you don't feel like it's a two-way street? How do you react to that? And that's going to give you some clues that this buried resentment is actually a sign that, do you know what, maybe I'm doing a bit too much for this person. Maybe I'm giving too much in this situation, and I just need to draw back a bit and not feel guilty about it, because there's no point, as I say, in us becoming the victim whilst trying to help everybody else. I remember when I was in my first in-house role in communications, and this was a really bizarre thing to think about it now, but I think somewhere, and this was many, many, many years ago, somewhere in my head, because I don't have children and I didn't have children at the time, I somehow felt that I should be staying late because other people should go because they have families. And this was this, moment when I realised I was in the office till about, 9:30 at night, and thought, hang on a minute, I've got a right to have a life just like everybody else. So it wasn't somebody else, it was me, not setting my own boundaries of myself. So again, it's about self-care, self-esteem, and not becoming a victim yourself and becoming stressed. So have a look at those different scenarios, see what you come up with, and if you need help with setting boundaries, or you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling stressed and you don't know how to get to the bottom of it, then by all means get in touch. If you'd like my weekly e-blast newsletter, then drop me a direct message on Facebook or send me an email. And keep in touch, and love to hear your comments and questions. All right then, have a good evening. Bye.